And if I told him the story, I would have thought, oh, well, he's just imagining because we told him. But since we hadn't told him the story already, and he heard the same thing that we heard, then, oh, wow, there's something happening here. Merv said, well, it's Nanny. She's come back to see us. You know, this was when Annie died, and so she's come back to say, hi, I'm okay. The other thing that we went back and realized after Thanksgiving was Nanny's birthday. So the day that we heard the two sounds at the kitchen table and when Grant was in the washroom was Nanny's birthday. And then when Merv went back and said, oh my goodness, we were up for Father's Day, whether it was Father's Day or Poppy's birthday, they were both around the same time. And July was the second time, and July was when Annie died, July 2nd. People asked, how could it be Nanny? She didn't die in this house. Nanny died next door in her house, in her bed, which she'd been in for a couple of years. She was very ill at the end. So they said, well, why would she be in this house? Merv says, well, she must have come to visit us, I guess. You know, she missed us. Hopefully she was happy to come back and see us. It wasn't upset with something. It felt comforting to know that she's there, I guess, around, has the ability to come back, has the ability to say hi. Anyways, we never talked much about it, and a month or two later, I was driving to work, and all of a sudden, the hairs in the back of my neck stood up. And I thought, oh man, I know how she'd be in the house. She died next door, Poppy moved to Alvin, and we had taken all our furniture down to Newmarket. So we brought the hospital bed that Nanny died in and put it in a room and made the room up for Poppy so he'd have a place to stay in our house when he came. And then it made sense. The bed that she died in was in our house. So I guess that was the common link. We went back and tried to trace the time of when the noises stopped. Was the bed being removed or was it Poppy dying? They all happened almost around the same time, so I don't know. But we never heard anything else after that. And I think she's gone now. Whether she was waiting for Poppy or just had some time. But if we could open our mind, it's kind of, like I said, comforting to know that there is something else out there after this. Which I truly believe there has to be something more than this. I mean, we can't be all put down here to run like crazy people for 80 years or whatever it is, which goes like in a nanosecond, it's gone.
Pauline still questions what she heard. But 3 other members of her family heard the same thing. And so Pauline has come to believe that she had a ghostly encounter, a comforting visit from her beloved mother-in-law, Helen. Pauline could be you or me. There's no real reason why a ghost would visit her in particular. There's no family or traditional history of second sight, no childhood habit of ghost whispering. But Pauline's family is a loving, close-knit group. Maybe it isn't so surprising that she feels Helen would want to join their gatherings at the cottage. Pauline's story follows the tradition of the benevolent guardian angel. That springs from a common attitude that God is far removed from our daily lives. And so for some, angels, saints, and departed loved ones bring spiritual comfort. When Stacy Haluka, a young woman from small-town Ontario, lost a friend to suicide, she needed that comfort.
I grew up in Welland, in a small town outside of there. Where I grew up was Cooks Mills. It was great growing up out on the farm, and we always had little campouts, and like I said, we had 3 acres of land and surrounded by trees, and we'd have little seances in the backyard and try to scare each other. I typically watched horror movies, still do. My mother does not like it, and I would rent horror movies, and she would be either vacuuming or playing the organ just so she wouldn't have to hear the horror music. I just liked being scared. I like the supernatural. I always believe there's something outside of what we see. I wanted to tell you my story because it's a true one, and if I can make somebody else be open to it and believe in it, and it can happen. It can be a comforting experience, especially if someone you lost that you loved has moved on.
Stacy was still in her teens when tragedy struck, and death became real to her. But in the midst of her sorrow, Stacy found unexpected comfort. And like Pauline, her strange experience helped encourage her belief in a supernatural world.
My friend Monty, he was actually my brother's friend. They were 6 years older than I was. He was more of another big brother to me, a friend and looking out for me. He always wanted to know who I was with, where I was going, and if I was dating a boy, he'd want to know what his intentions were and where he was taking me and what was going on as well. It was good to have around. The boys were having a party one night, and Monty was leaving the party with his friend Kevin, and on the way home they ditched the car. The car went off the road and they ended up in the ditch. Monty took off running down the road. By the time Kevin had taken off after him, Monty was quite a ways ahead of him, and Kevin assumed he had gone to the local garage to get the tow truck, so that's the direction Kevin went in. When he realized that Monty wasn't there, he turned around to go towards Monty's house, and on the way there heard the gunshot. Monty went into the house and grabbed a gun and shot himself in the head in the backyard. He was somewhat withdrawn from his friends. Not sure exactly what was going on in his life to make him do that, though. I was devastated.